Okay.
Hello, Willem. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for
And,
inviting me
and thank you very
today.
much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Yeah.
So, friends, let me introduce you all to Dr. Willem Lammers. He is an MSc in psychology, TSTA, is a Swiss Dutch psychologist, psychotherapist, coach, and trainer with more than 40 years of experience in the field. After extensive training in transactional analysis, hypnotherapy, gestalt therapy, EMDR, NLP, and energy psychology, he discovered and developed logosynthesis, which is an elegant and effective model for self coaching, counseling, and psychotherapy. This model integrates principles of psychodynamic psychology, energy psychology, and spirituality. As an author, trainer, and speaker, Dr. Lammers has contributed significantly to the field, sharing his expertise through workshops, books, and lectures around the world. His work continues to inspire practitioners and other individuals alike. In 2018, he received the prestigious ACEP Award for his significant contributions to the field of energy psychology. He has authored 11 books. So there is Willem for us. Thank you once again, Willem. And Willem, first question is, how did you get into this field of psychology?
Oh. Thinking of other options. So um, my health was too bad to become a medical doctor, so I had
Okay.
to skip that.
Mhm,
I was not bright enough to study physics.
mhm.
But I didn't want to study a language and stand before high school students all my life.
Okay.
And I was always interested in people, so uh, I knew it would be social sciences in one way or another, and sociology was too broad for me as a field, so I ended up with psychology. So and
Okay.
and it, probably it was the best choice I could make at that time, and I'm still happy with that choice. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you narrowed down to psychology of all the options
Yeah,
available.
it was a funnel.
Yeah. Got it. And you to develop logosynthesis.
Yeah, I think in my life I've always been two main streams or rivers of consciousness. One is that I'm very interested in spirituality and in the paranormal, and I've even studied a year on consciousness expansion at the university. And from there, I chose let's say, the normal career of becoming a psychotherapist. So I studied clinical psychology, and I took my additional training to become a psychotherapist with Gestalt, transaction analysis, and NLP, EMDR. And I always had a feeling of this is not it. This is not complete. Because if you look at mainstream psychology, it's very rational, it's very evidence-based, but something is missing because, yeah, even though I've been working on psychosomatics for many years, and the body and the mind are interesting, but without spirituality, it's empty. The mind is just a computer, the body is just a machine, and I never was satisfied with that idea, and so I kept searching. In, I guess, 1992, I had my first energy psychology training with Greg Nicosia. I went to Gary Craig's Step to the Ultimate Therapist on the Healing High Rise in 1998, and I liked that more. So I organized the first European energy psychology conference in 2001, I started teaching what I had learned. That was even before there was an official way of training EFT and TFT and BSFF, whatever. And so then at a certain moment, this came together. So if you look at EFT now, the spiritual dimension is coming up. It's integrated. At that time, it wasn't. So Gary was a good technician. And I saw that all people who were learning then, so there was Tabitha Fleming, there was BSFF, how's he called? There was Gary, and all those people went from the energy psychology to something more spiritual. And then there was a moment when I thought, okay, I had a very bad time between 2001 and 2004. And then I discovered that words are energy and that words can move energy. And from there, when I got that, and in fact, words are energy, and that words move energy is known for thousands of years. So every, let's say, main religion in the world has an aspect of the creative power of words. That's not the scientific model, but it is. So if you use words in science, you use them to describe something, to explain something, to make connections, to relate to people. But this creative power of words, which is there in the Bible, which is there in many forms of religion, that doesn't exist in science. So I had to admit, okay, Training Institute for Coaching, Supervision, Organization Development. And I started, at the same time, I started developing. And because I was leading the institute, I had other people working for me, so I had time to think. The institute went down through the economic crisis in 2008. Interest shifted from leading this institute and being a trainer for those fields to logosynthesis as a new modality. So my first book appeared in 2007, the second in 2008. I had those books translated. And I thought for a moment that this was all. And then I kept discovering every new aspect. And that's still going on. So in these days, I'm finishing my 12th book.
Wow.
And I already have a plan for 2024 for the 13th, and I guess there will be one in 2025. So now, if you look at it now, it's a system, it's a theory of change, it's a wide range of techniques. We have an international association, we have training criteria, we have trainers. So it's my role at this moment, having stepped back from active training to, I'm just writing down what's coming up. And I'm working together with Ryan Williams, who is a fantastic co-author. And I'm developing more and more, and I'm teaching, let's say, international trainings for specific groups. So last week I was in Serbia and Belgrade, where I offered a keynote address, and I offered a 2-hour logosynthesis workshop. Before, in October, I was in Canada teaching for a group of experienced professionals. So I can, let's say at the moment, my work is mainly writing, because I have some ideas which are not in books. yet. And then I have specific groups in which I teach, and we usually 3 days do 3-day workshops. So I'm going to Paris in February, and going to Holland in April. Yeah, let's say I try to organize 1 event a month and not more.
Okay, got it. And Willem, how is logosynthesis different from the traditional psychotherapy models of CBT, REBT, and other things?
I think the main difference is that it's based on energy, information, consciousness, and it's not based on a classical, let's say, concept of the mind as something which is not spiritual. So if you look at it, you can see my logo, and I'll put it on for a moment so you could say this.
Yeah.
And you see that we have a red circle which stands for our let's say immortal being. We have a blue circle for the material world, which I call the matrix. The other part I call essence. And yourself, with a big S, is the intersection of those 2 circles.
Okay.
And if you say a difference between logosynthesis and CBT or Rogerian or systemic, is that this essence part is, let's say, the timeless part, what we are beyond body and mind, is not part of those systems.
Yes.
So there's a basic assumption that in logosynthesis that everything is energy, and that makes it pretty difficult to explain to, let's say, mainstream scientists, because they don't believe in that. And the only reason why I do believe in it is because it works. So, and I have seen fantastic things in working with the power of words as a modality or as a theory behind techniques. And these techniques don't exist in traditional psychotherapy. So you can say, okay, this is suggestion, this is placebo. Hey, that's interesting. What's placebo? Placebo is a form of focused intention, which is healing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't count for scientific studies because it's filtered out. Instead of that, people are exploring, hey, what's going on there? And have always been interested in what's going on if people intend to change, and how can my intention to change something in the world. And what I see also in the research from a new book and the trials is that when people focus their energy in the direction of an intention, the world starts to work with them. And that's fascinating. So I've seen different examples that people suddenly get the job they have been looking for, but they first had to open the channel in the energy system to access the resources the matrix can offer. Yes. And many of our clients think that the matrix or the world is not friendly to them. And as long as they believe it, the matrix cannot be friendly. So as long as you think that someone is against you, you will find people in the world who are against you. And you will meet them and you will fight with them. If you say, oh, wait a minute, I know there are people who are not so nice, but I don't work with people who are not so nice, or I don't need to meet them. Does that go in the direction of an answer to your question?
Yes, yes, Willem, very much. And Willem, so to get trained in logosynthesis, does one needs to have a background in psychology, or anyone can get trained in this?
I think those people we train in the association have a background in psychology, psychotherapy, psychiatry, social work, nursing, or education. So you're used to working with people, you know how to build up a working alliance with people, and you apply the logosynthesis techniques within the frame in which you are already trained.
Okay.
So it's not, it's an extended training, but it's not a training. In our institute, or in the Swiss Institute for Logosynthesis, we now have a 3-year course which trains professionals in one field to become professionals in another field. That's hundreds of days. So that's a big training program, of which logosynthesis is a part, but you have to learn something about working lines, about diagnosis, about social systems, about everything that's important in the world of a therapist or a coach or a counselor. But normal logosynthesis training is open to anybody with a background in working with people on let's say, I call it guided change. So a psychotherapist guides people toward change, a social worker guides people toward change. So if you're in that field of counseling, coaching, psychotherapy, education, psychiatry, social work, then you can do the training.
Okay, good. Willem, if let's say someone is trained in hypnotherapy or EFT or some other modality, can learning logosynthesis can be integrated to make their practice even better?
It's more the other way around.
Okay.
So if I look at those trainees we have from the energy psychology field, they usually are surprised that it's so easy to work with logosynthesis, and that it's so gentle. So if you have an EMDR background, you might have seen very intensive app reactions. If you have an EFT background, you're testing all the time, and you don't need to test. You don't need anything else than identifying an issue and addressing it with certain specific sentences. And you can read about the sentences in my books if you like. And the integration, okay, if you look at my work, you can see that I come from transaction analysis. You can see that I have an EFT background. Yes. I have the SUDS from CBT. So if you look at my work, you can see a lot of aspects for my training, but that doesn't make me a CBT person, even though I learned CBT long ago, but it flows all together in a way that makes things easier. So you don't need to tap, you don't need to muscle test. It's all not necessary.
Okay, got it.
And I don't want to spoil your field or whatever, but so let's say I developed this as a result of a long process. And I integrated those schools, modalities I described in logosynthesis. I see people who have a hypnotherapy training say, okay, oh, I don't need a trance induction. Oh, but it's very useful because the hypnotherapists have an excellent way to connect to people. If you have an EFT background, you have learned to focus on a specific issue with the client. If you have done EMDR, you have become very patient. And you have learned to stay with people. These are all excellent qualities when you are a logosynthesis professional. But I don't use EMDR. I don't use tapping, even though I know where they are, because this is easier. And let's say, it may sound strange, but I consider myself a lazy person. So I'm not doing anything I don't need to do. And let's say logosynthesis is for me, the ultimate reduction of what I need to do to get a process going with the client or for myself. So we have talked about the professional side here, but it's also possible to use these techniques for yourself. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed is they're extremely effective. So if I see a client, let's say I have 30, 40 years of experience of seeing clients every week. Because I was told when I learned psychotherapy to reach a deeper change in a person, you need 65 sessions.
Oh my, okay.
That's what I learned, and that's how I worked for dozens of years. Now, if I see someone, I have a session, I see that same person again a month later. Uh-huh. Because the model is so gentle, people can use it for themselves, and the changes are much deeper than I was used to. Okay. And of course, then there are still those. So people meet with let's say, a type 2 trauma history. Those people you have to see every week because they need to, because otherwise they lose their coherence. But it's different. And the other, let's say, the big advantage, I can work with clients for a whole day or work with a group for a whole day, and I'm not tired.
Wow.
So I spent many years, let's say, having 6 or 8 clients a day, and I was exhausted. It was as if all the problems of all the people were hanging on me. That doesn't happen anymore. Mm. So let's say my life is easier.
Yeah.
And since I'm a lazy person, that I have a lot of time left to write my books.
Wow, wonderful. So you already answered one of my questions, that can the logosynthesis be applied for trauma work, which you have just now answered.
Definitely. So what I see is, let's say if you have a type 1 trauma, so someone who's healthy has a car accident and things are different after that. It's very easy to process such a single event in a single session. So you don't need much time. You identify what happened. So there has been this car crash. This person is driving a car in that direction. There comes a big car from the left, boom, and everything's different. To process that kind of things is very easy. When you work with people with a type 2 trauma, multiple events, abuse, violence, even then it's different. It's easier. So we had one of our trainees in Congo where people work with soldiers, child soldiers.
Oh, okay.
And they have amazing results with these techniques. Of course, Leilani Mitchell, or who was it? No. There are also EFT groups who work in those countries. So we have at least similar results, but since you don't need muscle testing, it's easier for people to work with because you don't have to go through the whole ritual of is this correct or not. You can still use muscle testing. So I use my yes and my no fingers all the time to guide the process. But that's another dimension. Then I'd say I always had some trouble with muscle testing because it takes you out of the flow of the process.
Understood. And Willem, let's come to the learning part. Usually, can anyone learn this modality through online, or is it face-to-face training only? How is it hybrid?
We have the Logosynthesis International Association nowadays. We have circa 20 trainers who offer online and on-site work. So there are, we have the association. I'll put the name in the chat. So here's the link for the association in English. And they have a program. I don't know the link by heart, but you can look what the association is offering, what trainers of the association are offering. So you start, there are two types. So one is for lay people who want to use it for themselves, and that's called an introduction to logosynthesis. That's usually 6 hours. And the other one is a basic training for professionals. And from there you have, I think the program is, the advanced training is about 14 days for a practitioner. And you can become a practitioner when you have had 4 seminars, you have had supervision, and you have written a paper about your experiences and your understanding of the model. From there, we have instructors, we have master practitioners, we have trainers, but that's not relevant for this conversation.
So you're saying that online training is also possible to learn.
Yeah, it's possible. And the best thing you can do is to write or to read this little book.
Okay, Discover Logosynthesis. Okay.
Yeah, we have it in 6 languages now. So French, German, Italian, Dutch, and English. That's 5. Yeah, and we have a project for more and more translations. But
wonderful.
Let's say if you read that, you can get really an understanding of the basics. And from there, that's a good introduction if you want to take training.
Okay, got that. Wonderful. And Willem, tell about, so this is the introductory book. What are the other books that you suggest would really help the practitioners or individuals?
Okay, what I have here, and there's one missing, but it's on the other table. Minute Miracles. This book is called Minute Miracles, and that is a thin book. It's only 100 pages, but it gives about 60 to 80 examples of how I work at logosynthesis. I wrote as Facebook posts and I made a book out of it. And if you read the Discover book in combination with this one, that's, let's say, a very good combination to start with. And probably when a professional reads this and let it sink in, then you will probably get a clue what's going on. Then we have something more. This is the handbook. That's
Okay.
bigger. It's on the market since a longer time, but it's still very actual. This is a book for professionals who work in the clinical field of logosynthesis. So it goes much deeper, and it expects also that you have a therapeutic background.
Oh, okay. Good.
That one. So, and then you have one more. Yes. So this is the self-coaching book, Self-Coaching with Logosynthesis.
Logosynthesis. Wonderful. Wow. I
Uh,
love these titles.
excuse me?
I said I love these titles.
Yeah, it's what it is. So wait a minute. And here's the link to all my books on one page, so that I don't have to explain all of it. Yeah,
Sure.
my favorite one at this moment is the last one I published before the one that's coming now, and it's called Alone to Alive, and it's about beliefs and how you can resolve beliefs with the help of new logosynthesis techniques.
Wow.
So that's, and of course there are a few more, but I don't want to explain them all.
Okay. And Willem, anyone without any sort of trainings also can get benefited with these books, or is what you are saying?
Yes. So if you don't have let's say a therapist, and you want to work on your own, or the therapist is too expensive, you can start with the Discover book, the small one, and then take the self-coaching book as a next step, because that has lots of examples. So that's a bigger book. And these are about 200 pages. And it's full of examples.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. Even this sort of modalities have to emerge, Willem, that makes the work simplified, which are result oriented, and I'm happy that I would finally get to interview you, so that people who are watching this can know, what is logosynthesis, about the books that are available. I'll make sure to provide these links in the YouTube description as well. So if anyone is interested, they can purchase these books as well.
That's okay. That's good. Yeah. And we all have them also as ebooks, so you don't need to buy them in print and have them sent to India by Amazon. That could be pretty expensive.
Yes, sometimes postage costs more than the book times I've seen.
I know.
Yeah.
So an ebook, you can an ebook on Amazon, or you can use your iPad or whatever, or tablet.
Yes. I'll make sure to provide these links to the audience as well, so that they can reach out directly and take these books with them. So thank you very much, Willem, for your time, and really appreciate. Finally I got to interview you, because this has been my dream, that various modalities needs to be known to the general public as well as the professionals, so that these modalities reach worldwide.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you once again. Bye, Willem.
Bye.